Okay, we're ready to do some lip syncing now. So this is our timeline, and you remember you can switch the timeline view off and on using this symbol here. So this top line here is the voiceover that I've done, me singing, and this is the sound wave for it so we can see it. And the bottom is the music file. So eventually what we're going to do is we're going to turn the volume on my singing down to 0, and we'll leave the volume on the backing track, which is Bruno Mars, on maximum. So it'll look like the lip sync is coming from the monkey when Bruno Mars is singing. So what I want to do though is I want to actually do the lip syncing now. So on where it says voice, if I click on this little triangle, it opens up another timeline, the one that says lips. And if you see on here, there's lots of little symbols. Now these are basically mouth shapes. Then these have been put in automatically. But what we can do is we can edit these. We can either replace them, or we can exaggerate them more, or we can move them around. I can either double click on any of them to open, or I can open the panel here by clicking on the lips. If you see on this panel now, we've got various expressions. Now what you have to do is, as you come to each part of the music track, you listen to the words, you need to kind of decide for yourself, probably by voicing them again, what the actual mouth shape is that's being used. So obviously different words involve you using your mouth in a different way. And when there's complete silence, you'll want this one called none, where there's nothing going on. So if I move this over to the right here, you'll see on the first part of the track where we've got this line of silence, there's one that says none. And I can click into various parts of the track and just listen to bits of it. So I can see, I can turn off the Bruno Mars one down for maybe for a minute now, so I'm just listening to my own voice. And I can decide which particular letters need to be in which place. So if I decided this one, which is the TLD, you can see as soon as I click it and it goes blue, I can see over here that TLD is the one that's been chosen. That means that the sound could be something that starts with a T or an L or a D. And I can over-exaggerate the expressiveness of that one by actually moving this left or right. And that will affect the way that the monkey's mouth opens and closes when we do it. So if we think any of these are wrong, we can literally click on them and we can delete them to get rid of them. We can move them along a little bit on the track. We can decide wherever there's areas of quiet. So here where there's nothing going on, it might be that perhaps this one here, this TLD, should actually be a none. So I can change that to none, so there's no mouth movement and there's no sound going on. As you pull this across, you click on the different ones, you can see the actual, so this is very small on this screen, but the monkey's expression and the facial position is different. So in this O here, if I actually pull this across to the right, it makes the mouth open more. And literally this is what you've got to do. You've got to decide in which places you have to change the noise. Or while we're doing this on the timeline, we can move the timeline across to see where we're working. If we want to zoom in or out, we can use the features here to actually go into more detail or less detail on the actual timeline to see the waveforms in more detail. And we can see here the frame number of how far we're up. So that changes as we move across. So it might be, because a lot of these sound forms look the same, you might need to make a little note of where you've got up to when you've been editing, so you can carry on from there the next time. One thing you can do as well is you can always click and you can hold down Control and you can choose more than one actual sound clip, and if you wanted to, you can copy those using Control C, and then you could go somewhere else on the timeline and paste them again. Now that's useful. I'm going to Control Z and undo that, but that could be useful if you know that the word is being repeated. So if the word is being spoken or sung more than once, you might as well work out the correct mouth shapes for it the first time and then just copy them and put them down where the second use of that word is. So a lot of songs have repeated words in them, so you can actually save a bit of time doing that. If at any point you want to test the thing out a little bit better, then close your timeline up and come back. So now you've got a bigger view of it, and you can move your play head along here to see what part you want to listen to, and you can hit play. I just wanna lay in my bed. And you can see how bad or how good it looks.